Hello friends, welcome to our fifth session of this module on pricing. So, we have discussed a lot of concept in the pricing in this module of pricing, and we have started discussing about the role of pricing in the overall marketing strategy. We started looking into the blunders that marketeers make while pricing or designing the pricing programs for the organization. So, basically what we have started at the beginning of this module was that understanding that pricing is a strategic tool and how it should be used. Then we have started looking into that part like how consumers evaluate that pricing. So, the consumer psychology and the evaluation of the pricing was also discussed in the second session of this module, and then we have started looking into the process of setting the prices. So, setting the prices has 6 steps. We have looked into each of those steps in a brief way, and then we have started looking into the in depth manner into each of these steps. So, these 6 steps were uh, setting or understanding the pricing objectives, and therein we have discussed 5 different types of pricing objectives, and we have also seen that these pricing objectives are essentially linked with the business objective or the marketing objective of the organization. They have to in sync with those organizational objectives, so that they can deliver what is expected from the pricing, and that is where this the role of pricing as a strategic tool comes in. And then we have discussed after understanding what is the pricing objective, the next thing that we need to do is understanding the demand and the price sensitivity with respect to products. So, we have seen into the concept of price elasticity of the demand, that how the changes in the price leads to change in the demand of a product, and with that actually we have looked into this curve that or the assessment of how the price and the demand behavior is changing over the different price levels, so that we can understand that demand function. Then we have looked into the cost function part, and there we have looked into the a lot of concept we have discussed in the cost, like we have looked into the total cost, which is the sum of fixed cost plus variable cost. Then we have talked about the nature of these two types of cost, that fixed cost and variable cost. Fixed cost does not change with the number of unit produced. On the other side, the variable cost changes with the every unit that you produce or that you distribute, or for the matter that you sell. So, your variable cost changes with each unit of that is being offered or produced, and with that we have also looked into the average cost concept also. Therein we have looked into the fact that the fixed cost has a behavior of economies of scale, that when you go on a higher number of units that you produce or sell, then the fixed cost reduces drastically. I have given you an example to illustrate this fact, and with that we have also looked into this break even analysis, which is very important from the perspective of pricing, that we need to understand at what number of units of sales the revenue will be equal to the total cost, and we need to understand this number very well, because then we will understand that that many number of units one has to sell before making any profit for the organization. So, this was a brief recap of what we have discussed in the previous session. Today I am going to talk about the fifth step in this setting the price, which is about selecting a pricing method. So, under selection of pricing method, you have a different types of pricing methods available. The first one is markup pricing. We will discuss about each one of again in depth about each one of these pricing method. The first one is markup pricing. Then you have this target return pricing. Then you have perceived value pricing, which is very important these days. From a marketeer's point of view, understanding this perceived value pricing is extremely important to understand and exploit the full value of your offering, or the seize the opportunity that exist with any particular product or the offering. And then we will look into this going rate processing, and then we will also talk in little bit brief about this auction type pricing. So, these are the 5 broad or mean method of pricing. And I mean in the industry, if you go back, if you go in the industry, you will see that different industry sector, different method may be popular, and it is also possible that within the same industry you will see that one seller might be using markup pricing, other might be using this perceived value pricing. So, it depends on a lot of contingent factors which are present at a particular time of when you are designing a pricing program, and once we will discuss each one of them, you can understand which one is the most suitable for you to set up your prices. So, I am going to talk about the first one, which is markup pricing. Now, markup pricing is the formula is for markup pricing is that unit cost equals to variable cost plus fixed cost upon unit sale. So, that was the unit cost. In markup pricing, the markup price is unit cost divided by 1 minus desired return on sales. So, for the example, suppose you have a product A for which your cost of production or whatever the cost is, the cost of sales is actually 80 rupees if you say, and then if your desired rate of return is 20%, in that case the markup price will be unit cost is 80 and at the denominator you have 1 minus 0.2. So, 0.2 is the fraction or the desired return on sales, that is 1 minus 0.2, which is equals to 0.8. So, the formula gives you the markup price equals to 100 rupees. Now, you can understand this is a pretty straightforward simple method of determining what should be the price, but you have to understand in this pricing method is that it ignores some of the important or critical factors which are which might be very important from the marketing perspective. So, it ignores the current demand. You will see that the price has been set in this method irrespective of the level of the demand and how the demand varies. In that case the price should be adapted, but here what happens is the the demand function has not been probably included in this pricing method. The second thing is perceived value. So, how much benefit that a customer derives, how much he or she thinks of what is the value of that product, that is also is not present. And the third thing which is not taken care of in this pricing method is the competition. So, it ignores you can understand that markup pricing actually ignores three vital parameters to be included in the pricing is that current demand, perceived value and the competition. So, it might not be a very suitable way of pricing in many places, particularly the situation where your product is the cost and the value that is delivered by the product is very different. So, but I would still say that you have to understand here that in this method this method is very easy to adopt, or this method is very easy to basically practice, because the cases where you will understand that cost is easy to determine as compared to demand. Demand varies with the time and the various other factors present in the market. So, you will see that cost is easy to determine. So, this formula is pretty simple. If you understand your cost, then you can find out what should be the markup pricing. On the other side, this method is also very simplified. You will see that many companies or many firms adopting this method, because wherever there is the industry wise practice to have this markup pricing, the companies will find it easier. Sometimes I will also tell you from my own experience talking to the lot of marketing managers, the fact is that lot of people do not understand about the other pricing methods. So, this kind of markup pricing is very useful for them in the sense it is simple, it is intuitive, and from their past experience they use markup pricing to price their product in a quite an effective manner also. However, I would also like to basically point out one thing here is that in markup pricing you have to understand whenever there are certain kind of product, you will see that markup prices are very high, in the sense where the seller has a higher financial risk, whether the product that does not sell very fast, or it will have a lot of damages and all those things. So, understanding those kind of things, the basically that seller will have a higher level of desired return on sales. Now you will understand once you basically plot this markup price versus unit cost minus 1 minus desired return on sales. As the desired return on scale increases, the markup price will increase in a much sharper way. So, in that case, wherever you will see that markup pricing is happening and the seller believes that certain kind of higher returns should be taken in should be targeted, because there will be some kind of risk or some kind of seasonal effects which will come. So, you will see that markup prices might be on a much higher side in those cases. Now, this is one example basically how the markup pricing moves from the different stages of the value chain. So, here I have shown you in this example that a manufacturer of a product, so you can call it a product A. For this product A, you will see that manufacturer's cost of manufacturing this product is 60 rupees, and they have this this markup this desired return on sales of 16.67%. So, in that case the absolute value of markup will come out to be equals to 12 rupees. So, the manufacturer though the cost is 60, so with their 16.67% of markup, they will be selling it at a 72 rupees price to the wholesaler. Now, for the wholesaler the cost is 72 rupees and the wholesaler is targeting 20% return on sale. In that case the this wholesalers basically markup will come out to be 18 rupees, and when the product will reaches to the next stage, which is retailer, the cost to the retailer will be 90 rupees. Now, retailer here will add 40% of his desired return on sale. You will see that since they are selling, he is manufacturing in larger quantity, he is selling in a larger quantity. So, despite their markups are much less than retailer, their revenues might be overall, or the profits might be higher, since this is basically the number of units that they sell is less. So, the markup might be higher. So, here the markup is 40%, and when you will calculate, you can go back and you can have a calculation. So, if you have a 40% markup here, you will get the absolute markup value comes out to be 60 rupees. Now, what happens is by the time the product reaches, it becomes 150 rupees. So, a product which has started from 60 rupees from the manufacturer, by the time it reaches to consumer, the cost is 150 rupees with this kind of markup pricing, because 3 levels of markup has been added. The next method of pricing here is target return pricing, and the target return pricing you can understand it is like unit cost plus desired return and desired return on invested capital divided by unit sales. Now, in this case you will understand you pre-assess how many units you are going to sell, and depending on how many units you will sell, you can calculate the target return price. So, I have given you one example here. Unit cost is rupees 100 and your desired return again is 20%. Now, when your desired return is 20% with invested capital of 1 lakh rupees and unit sales is projected to be 1000 units will be sold, you will find out that your target return comes out to be 120 rupees. Now, one important thing that you need to understand in this target return pricing is that that if the number of units that you are projecting to be sold is 100 rupees, if you do not sell those many units, that is 1000 units, if you do not sell in this case, supposedly you sell basically 800 units. So, in that case the loss of the sales of 200 units, that will be probably a huge loss to you in terms of the revenue loss, and ultimately it may cost you to no profit no loss kind of situation also. So, that the dynamic nature of the demand or the dynamic of market is not captured here. So, that point is another very important thing that you have to understand, because if you assume too many, I mean if you overestimate the sales, then also you will be in a trouble situation that you may not realize that much amount of sales, and you may lose revenue from the number of units that you have not sold, which you have targeted. Or in otherwise case, if you assume that that very few units will be sold, in that case you will reach to a target return price which will be very high, and in those situation what will happen is that the final price that you will set up for the product might be very high, and with those prices you will find it difficult to sell the number of units, or your product might not do well in the market. So that is another disadvantage of this target return pricing. The third method in this setting the price method is, or the methodology is that which is actually very popular among marketeers, is this perceived value pricing. The smart marketeer will always try to price their product from perceived value pricing perspective, in the sense, and what is we need to understand what is the perceived value. If you can recall our initial session on marketing management 1, you will understand we have always talked about perceived value. So perceived value is basically your benefit minus cost, perceived benefit minus perceived cost. Now here what is being done in this to understand the value of a product is, you need to basically sum all the benefits which are delivered by a product. So supposedly in this case I have talked about, take the case of a car. Now what kind of benefit it provides to you? So I have said like there are three benefits. It provides the car will provide you the benefit of transportation, the car will provide you the second benefit would be the safety, and the third benefit could be the time that you save over other transportation method or the convenience. So you see the as you build on this the different benefits, this stakes will go higher, the benefits will go higher, and the the value that is being delivered by the product will be higher. Now the logic here is that the more the benefits you cater, the more the value that you create, and accordingly the product should be priced. Now what happens, the product cost might be very low, on the other side you will find out that the value that is being delivered by the product might be very high. So in those cases the value and the perceived value and the cost of the product might not be very much in sync, or they might there might be huge difference between the value that is being delivered by a product and the cost, and in those cases it is advisable that the pricing should be more towards the perceived value or the value delivered by the product. So for example you see that there are 4 different types of automobiles, 4 different brands of the automobiles here, the product A, product B, product C and product D. You will see that they provide different levels of the 3 different benefits: top speed, mileage and comfort. Now you see that each one of them in terms of the value that they are catering is different, and since their value that they are catering is different, depending on the value that they are catering to the customer, the pricing should be according to that value that is being delivered. Another way, or probably that through the numbers, this example has been explained here, that if you want to assess the value of the car B, in this case with respect to car A, you will understand that though the initial price of the car B is higher by 50,000 rupees, the maintenance cost over the life cycle of that car B is 1 lakh compared to car A. So it saves on the maintenance cost over the life of the car, say for 10 years. So in next 10 years the car will save 50,000 rupees for you, and if we talk about the fuel cost over life cycle for another 10 years, again compared to 3 lakhs it costs you 2,75,000. So it again saves you 25,000. So now you will see that if you want to understand the perceived value with respect to car A, so the car should come at 2 lakhs, but you will see that you will say that that the saving on the maintenance over the life cycle is 50,000 and the saving in terms of the fuel is 2,75,000. So the actual perceived value with respect to car A is 2,75,000 rupees. So this is one good example to explain you what is perceived value. perceived value pricing is something which is very important from the marketeer's point of view, in the sense that one is supposed to look into the benefits that his or her offering is creating to the customers, and once you assess what is the value that is being created to the customer, your pricing should reflect the value that is being created by the by your product or the services that you are marketing. Now, I will stop here. When we will meet in the next session, we will start talking about the remaining methods of the pricing, and then we will conclude this pricing module through the last session of this course or this module on pricing. Thank you very much.